Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another one of the interview rounds. Today we have a special alumni, Alexa, who is currently involved with Youth Champions and our activities, our events. So it's going to be a really great insight to hear from Alexa about her current experience as an alumni, still be involved with Youth Champions. Before we jump into the conversation, though, I want to allot some time for Alexa to give an introduction to herself, maybe a little bit about her background and whatever else you feel is necessary.
Okay, so hi, my name is Alexa, and I'm 18 years old. I'm in my first semester at East Los Angeles College, and currently I volunteer at the LA General Medical Center in the dental clinic and now in childcare. I plan to become a dentist in the future. I want to transfer to either UC or Cal State and then apply for dental school with my bachelor's degree.
Great. And as we were just talking before this too, Alexa has this passion for dentistry, which I actually found out about during our Super Bloom event, which Alexa was one of the invites to the event, one of the few invites of the current cohort to the event, where we celebrate the success of Youth Champions and the year and some of our top students, to be honest. And Alexa, I want to talk a little bit about your experience in high school now. Was your experience in high school tailored towards this dentistry route? Is that the reason why you're interested in that? Or where is the interest for this medical pursuit? Did it start in high school or elsewhere?
So I had braces in sophomore year, and that really opened my eyes to like orthodontics. I feel that if I'm not satisfied enough with dentistry, I want to move up and become an orthodontist. And another thing that I really loved about dentistry was how it's kind of like plastic surgery in a way where people, their jaw and like their face can be structured a certain way because of like issues in their mouth. But when you're able to do surgeries, you can alleviate their pain and also just make them look healthier, make them look happier, and they'll feel a lot more confident. And I feel that confident is something that I used to struggle with when I was younger. So being able to help people become more confident in themselves in a non like plastic surgery way, like not in a way that's not based on society. It's like a genuine health issue. I feel like that's really awesome. And in high school, I did a dental program with West Los Angeles College, and it was partnered with USC. So I would take 4 classes after school at either campus to learn the basics of dental assisting and earn my certificates in dental radiology, infection control, and the California Dental Practice Act. And I furthered this interest in my senior year of high school, and I took 2 classes in coronal polishing and pit and fissure sealants. So now I'm certified in both of those. And if I don't transfer to a UC, I plan to go to West LA College to finish my dental hygiene degree there. And I've had a lot of friends that were able to volunteer and let me do work on them when I was in the program. And I helped my friend with her, like I did x-rays on my friend and she took them to her dentist and now she has braces. So I think she was really thankful because she hasn't gone to the dentist in so long. And because of that, that was one of my requirements to have the patients. She was able to be my patient. And I just enjoyed doing the x-rays as well.
Yeah. That sounds like a really cool experience, and I feel like the route that you're going down is really a route like just medicine in general is what either changes or affects people's lives. So it's really interesting that you're interested in that. And I believe when I heard about your story at the Super Bloom event, I recall like the founding team and some of the other members of the team saying like, no, this student, this girl, she's gotten all these certifications already, like XYZ, like she's real deal wants to go down this route. So I want to talk a little bit more about that and then also a little bit about the high school experience since you're recently out of high school, correct, right? How
Yes.
was your senior year? Yeah. How was your senior year? We have the students and youth champions, as you know, that go from grades 10 through 12. We probably have some that are going through the same process as you, which had to apply to those colleges, which were just gearing up for graduation. Tell us a little bit about your senior year experience, any moments of reflection, or what do you think about it now that you look?
So I think my senior year, I definitely experienced senioritis. Like in the first semester, my grades were kind of dropping, and that was just because of a lot of personal reasons. And that really like affected my mental health, but I was later able to pick up my grades because I was also applying for college, so I couldn't let myself have like poor grades while applying for colleges. And at school, I participated in a couple clubs. I joined Red Cross for a little bit to learn about what they did, like volunteering. And I was also the president of the crochet club, which I thought was really fun. I was teaching students how to crochet, and it was a really cool experience because I never had an experience actually teaching a group of over 30 students, and it was very interesting. Trying to think. I also volunteered around that time. I volunteered at the LA General Medical Center during my fifth and sixth period twice a week. I was part of the patient care program, and it opened my eyes to a lot of new opportunities in the hospital because when I thought of working at the hospital, I only assumed like doctor and nurse, but there's a lot of people that come together to make the hospital function. And more about my high school, I participated in a lot of events, and that was like the first time I genuinely felt included with with my grade because I was really shy the prior years, but I was able to become more confident and things like that. I'm not really sure what
Definitely, and
else.
Alexi, yeah, all good. Definitely. You talk about that kind of barrier that you had of confidence and then personal issues, but you were able to fix those issues and get your grades back up. So can you talk a little bit about that experience and what kind of help you get through that rough period, or maybe any advice for a current student who could be dealing with a similar thing?
I think what I always did was just think about the consequences, and that scared me. So I would try to like pick up my grades because I would always think that, oh, if I don't have good grades, then colleges won't want me. If I don't have good grades, then maybe certain volunteer or internship opportunities aren't going to want to include someone who doesn't have the best grades. So I was definitely always thinking about the consequences. And the ways that I was able to pick up my grade was I started working on my time management because a lot of the time I was taking more time to like self-care time instead of actually like doing all my work, and I just distributed my time in a way that makes more sense and in a way that would benefit me. I would list my classes by easiest to hard, or the assignments. I would have them listed in the easiest ones to hardest ones. And I would do the easy ones first to get myself motivated to do the harder ones or the ones that take a lot more time. So that helped me a lot. And I also made sure to keep lists and keep track of things that I needed to complete because I wasn't also just doing schoolwork, I was volunteering, and was also part of Youth Champions. And so I was able to learn other types of study tips with the facilitators because they're very great people and they're here to help all the students, and I was able to ask them questions like comfortably.
And Alexa, can you talk to us a little bit about your experience, first and foremost, in like the high school dynamic when it came to learning about yourself and personal development from high school, and then the experience that you got from being in something external like Youth Champions that solely focuses on developing youth and teaching youth about life and what is the world in reality. So, can you talk to us about like that dynamic? Do you feel that sometimes school lacked a little bit on teaching you guys about financial literacy or other elements? And did Youth Champions pick up the slack there? Or in what areas did Youth Champions you feel mostly impact you?
So I definitely think Youth Champions helped a lot when it came to financial literacy because I never learned anything like that throughout my high school. And well, I did learn in the second half of senior year because I did have to take economics. But other than that, I feel like what Youth Champions has taught me was so much more of than any of what my teachers had taught me. And I found myself learning, like researching like saving accounts and different um, aspects within a bank to like look at when you're like applying for like your savings account and things like that. I also got a lot of help from my dad because I would take what I learned from Youth Champions and ask him about it. Like, oh, do you think this is a good idea? Because my dad is into investing and things like that. And he said, and he agreed with a lot of the things that Youth Champion says. And soon I'm planning to open a savings account and hopefully a Roth IRA account because I want to start saving up for my future and just letting um, the money like increase as I get older.
Yeah, definitely. Like youth champions, I think that's one of the main things where school, and you went to an LAUSD school, right?
Yeah, I did. Bravo High
Yeah,
School.
and me too. I went to an LAUSD high school as well. And with my experience just literally last night over dinner talking to my friends who also went to an LAUSD high school about maybe some of the curriculum that we feel lacked. Sometimes it's really important for organizations like a youth champions to exist and to kind of fill those gaps because the college that I go to now, I've dealt a lot with other students who during my first year I felt are vastly so much ahead of me because I didn't know certain things that they just had already instilled in them because of what they learned in high school, in middle school, and in elementary school, which again were things that were probably because of the element of private school kids. But regardless, I think a fulsome education should teach about these things that Youth Champions teaches about. But that's great that you mentioned that you picked up some of this knowledge. So to kind of pick up off of the knowledge itself from Youth Champions, now to pivot a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Youth Champions? I know you were a part of the program when I think it may have still been online because of COVID, but then when you got to experience like the in-person field trip, how was that dynamic if you did go to an in-person field trip?
So I joined Youth Champions in my sophomore year, which was 2 years, 2 or 3 years ago. And that was online. I don't think I've gone to a class in person, but when I was meeting students online, I'm not sure if this is a question, but I was able to interact with a lot of students in sophomore year because the classes were a lot smaller. I feel like Youth Champions has grown so much over the years. And going to meet everyone in person for my first field trip in sophomore year, it felt like people already knew each other because people were always interacting in the Zoom. And then getting to be there, I recognized students and I was able to form conversations with them. I've made friendships. I My first year, I became friends with two girls who are a year older than me, and I still keep in touch with them. They're at UC Merced, and so I think Youth Champions also allowed me to have those types of connections. I reached out to both of them to ask like school advice, and since Youth Champions has grown a lot over the years, sometimes at field trips I don't like recognize everyone because of how many like cohorts there are, but I'm still like not afraid to make conversation with another person. And Youth Champions just taught me a lot about confidence and a lot about communicating and having conversations. I think that was really beneficial, especially because I'm always involved with programs that have a lot of people that I have to conversate with.
Yeah, definitely. And you spoke on something like kind of the element of nervousness, which I feel like students deal with. Like you were there for the meet and greet event, which I remember one of the things that I emphasized about when I was asked to speak was the fact that I know that everyone is probably nervous and you have to talk to all these new people. You know, over the time that kind of ice starts chipping away and you get to talk to
Right.
people and then you develop those relationships like the two girls that you're friends with now, which that's really interesting that you mentioned that because I believe you're one of the I've heard a couple of stories now where champions talk about that they've met friends who like this one student who's going to UC Irvine now who's dorm mates with someone that he met in U Champions. So that's really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about the online interaction element that you're talking about? I was there when it was still in person, so I'd like to know a little bit about how the online element is, which Youth Champions is still currently online, but tell us about that experience.
I think my experience has always been really great. I feel like a lot of people are more shy to talk to other people in person. So having conversations and discussions and learning online kind of helps them like boost their confidence a little because even though they're still conversating with people, they're not like face to face and it just takes away all the pressure. And I noticed that even sometimes in the field trips, people can be a little shy, but once we're on Zoom, a lot of these students are making a lot of points about the discussion. They're talking a lot, and I feel like having it online is really beneficial to them, especially it like breaks the ice a little bit. And I feel like that's how I slowly was able to become more confident in talking with larger groups of people because I wouldn't consider myself like a super shy person throughout high school. I was just always very nervous to actually continue a long discussion, but now I'm a lot more confident with that. And I feel like the it being online is so helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And Alexa, if you can correct me, are you a part of the Alumni Institute?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, great. So you're able to you join the online classes is what I'm talking about, right? Like during the semester now, or is that
Maybe I haven't then. I remember submitting some type of form, but I don't know if I've had a Zoom with just alumni, if that's what you're talking about.
I mean like in classes, like you're on in classes with the
Yeah, I
students?
am. Yeah, I'm with
Yes?
students
Okay,
already.
great.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, of course, no worries. This is all edited as well. But
Okay, good.
so Alexa is talking about the Alumni Institute, which is a program that Youth Champions, or that we were talking about right now, has developed for alumni, which is essentially allowing them an opportunity to give back to Youth Champions, earn some money, and then also become a part of developing this new community of champions, or like the next generation of Alexas, of eyes. So, Alexa, tell us a little bit about that experience right now. Have you been able to develop a relationship maybe with the facilitator, with other facilitators who are like the conversationalists during the Zoom? And I know they have alumni engaging in breakout rooms, I believe. Tell
Mhm.
us a little
Yeah.
bit about that experience, and how are you helping develop these younger youth minds?
I actually really love being a part of Youth Champions as an alumni because I'm able to see like a new year's worth of new students with new ideas and new voices. And the alumni are in charge of facilitating the breakout rooms. So I'll join a breakout room, introduce myself, ask for the students to introduce themselves, and I will talk about the topic that the facilitator in the main room is talking about. So I'll ask them questions and get them engaged. And I really enjoy it because I was a little scared at first that I wouldn't be able to get a lot of conversation from them. But a lot of the students there are they're really like not shy. They're really outgoing. Oh, there you go. They're really outgoing and they like to participate a lot in the breakout rooms. And I feel like the breakout rooms allow them to be a bit more confident because they're not overwhelmed with like the huge main room. And I really love sharing advice to the students. They ask me questions about my experience in Youth Champions. And because I'm now in college, they ask me my experience in college and steps I took to join like internships and finding places to volunteer and things like that. So I feel that I'm really able to help them find opportunities to be prepared for life. And since I already had taken these classes the past 2 years with Youth Champions, I'm able to answer questions that they have about the topics. And I get really happy when I'm able to answer the question.
Yeah, and Alexa, again, in this dynamic of the Alumni Institute, where alumni are now leading these cohorts in the breakout rooms and just in the interaction of the session, can you tell us a little bit about kind of your experience now that you reflect on, your path? You're now in college and you're getting involved in these organizations. How does it feel to now be a leader and helping other students out to develop their own character? And what advice would you have for students who are going to go through that same application process and they want to get involved as soon as you did once you got to college into organizations, into other platforms? Any advice that you have on kind of just keeping that focus, applying to applications? Any general advice on developing that leadership strength?
Hmm. So it's really interesting to the be a part of Youth Champions again And when I look at the students, I kind of see myself in a way because I remember being a sophomore, being a junior, being kind of lost on the things I wanted to do in the future and being lost on how I'm supposed to join all these extracurriculars when I don't know about any of them. And advice for people who are trying to look for organizations, I think networking is really important because if you don't have anyone to ask, then you really don't know where you're going to find something. So since I volunteered in since I volunteered at the LA General Medical Center in my senior year of high school for fifth and sixth period, I was able to form a relationship with my supervisor, with other volunteers, and because of that, I applied for an internship at my current college, and it's supposed to be partnered with the hospital I volunteer with, but it wasn't able to happen. But because I know the supervisor, she was able to find me someone else, like another department that I can volunteer in that can partner with CYLC. So now I'm doing paid volunteering at the LA General Medical Center with CARES in childcare. And today's my first day. So after my interview, I'm going to head over to there and I'm going to get trained and work with children. So networking is really important because without knowing and having that relationship with my supervisor, I wouldn't have been able to do this internship because there was no way for me to do it. And I think networking doesn't just have to be with people who are in a higher position. It can just be with your friends. It can be with new people you meet because if you form a good relationship with them, they're more willing to help you. And I feel like that's very important. I found another internship. I worked at the Getty Museum in my junior year of high school. It was in the summer between junior and senior year. And I found that internship due because of the staff at my school, and I applied and I got in, and then I was able to work at the museum my whole summer. It was so fun. And since I formed a good relationship with my boss there, he wrote my letter of recommendation to other organizations that I applied for. And that's just really that to me it showed the importance of networking because I wouldn't have been able to do the other have those other opportunities if it weren't for the networking that I did with my peers and bosses at the Getty Museum.
First of all, many congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
internship opportunity and the fact that you start today. That's great. Lots of congratulations again. Really excited for you. In general, the youth champions. When I feel like a grandpa looking at all, and I was talking about this the other day too, that I feel so old looking at all the current champions, but it really puts a smile on my face to see how much it's grown and the importance that kids are starting to realize the importance of internships. That's you speak on that, the internship element a lot, which I'm really grateful for because I feel like some students don't realize that in college is where you get this opportunity to start building your resume. A lot of people think like college is solely focused on your classes and your grades, which is fine, you should be doing that, but
Mhm.
unfortunately it's one of the reasons why college is not easy. You have to also be actively looking for other things. And you speak on the networking, which is vastly critical. And Youth Champions does has our inaugural networking event as well, which we had a few months ago, where we had literal. I'm not too sure if you were at that event, but we had surgeons like we had like three famous people too, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Like there was
Yeah.
actually two people that were on like TV shows, like Netflix shows, which I thought was crazy. And cops, people from different industries, which again, like Alexa, it seems like you've really developed that passion for just getting to know people. And it's great to hear that you were kind of shy at one point, but you broke out of that, and then now you're here about to start your yeah, your internship today. So can actually to kind of pick up off that a little bit more, where did that networking part of you come from? Do you feel like it was a passion that was developed during high school, or where did you start to realize like the importance of networking? And also, any advice for current champions right now on how to break out of their shell and start building those relationships?
So I realized the importance of networking when I actually had to reach out to the people I networked with and had to ask for a lot of recommendations and things like that. So when I was in Youth Champions my sophomore year, we had the meet and greet as the last field trip where we were able to meet like doctors and things like that. Um, they talked about networking and why it was important, but at the time I still didn't really understand it until I went in for myself and networked with a bunch of people. And in that networking event, I met police officers, nurses, doctors, people on live television, people who worked behind the scenes on movies, people who worked behind the scenes in construction, things like that. I was able to learn about a lot of different type of jobs that I never really thought or considered. And it opened my eyes to new opportunities, and a lot of students there took interest in the jobs there. And I think my first like networking experience was me helping someone else because I had a friend who really wanted to be an architect, or who wants to be an architect. They're at UC, or not UC, Cal Poly, to learn to study architecture. And there was an architect and a construction worker who were speaking at the event, and I asked for their business cards and asked if by any chance me or someone I know can reach out to them and ask questions about their profession or the steps they took to get there. And they're really happy to give me their card, and I gave it to my friend, and I even asked them questions as well. And advice that I have for students who are shy or nervous about networking, I think thinking about the benefits after you do it would be really helpful, because if you don't try, gonna you're never gonna see the outcome of what would have happened if you asked. So I'm not really sure how I would give advice to just break to step out of your comfort zone. I think that's something that you as a person has to figure out and have to develop. And I think just taking little steps to break out of your comfort zone would be really important and be really helpful.
Definitely, it's all about the little steps, especially with networking. I remember my first amount of connections that I was making, and like just getting to know people. It's very nerve wracking, especially for as you're a young adult, you just graduated high school, you think people will take you seriously. And I feel like a lot of people, especially high schoolers, feel that way. That why would they want to talk to me? Like I'm just in high school. But trust me, people genuinely like, especially adults that are involved in these types of organizations, they genuinely care about that next generation and the youth, and they want to start developing that next generation and that those to come and follow. So, Alexa, we're nearing the end of the interview. I want to ask
Mhm.
you a little bit of youth champions tailored questions. So, your current alumni participant in the institute, if you were approached by a group of high school students, say you're walking around somewhere in LA and you get approached by a group of high school students, and they ask you, Alexa, why should I join Youth Champions? What am I going to get out of this? How would you respond to that group of unbeknown students?
I would respond to them and tell them that Youth Champions is an opportunity that allows you to find more opportunities. Because if it weren't for Youth Champions, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't have as much confidence. I wouldn't have as much determination and motivation to look for opportunities that would benefit me. And I think I would also explain to them how important it is to form relationships with everybody. Like everybody on the Zoom, because you never know how they can benefit you in the future. You never know how you can benefit them. And you never know what kind of friendship you may be able to form, because I still have friends that I keep in touch with after 4 years. They graduated like a year or two before me. And Youth Champions message is really powerful. I also love how all the staff is so willing to help the students. They're so willing to help the students, and any questions that you have, they're not going to judge you for it. They're not going to make you seem like unintelligent for asking certain questions. They really enjoy helping you, and they just never be afraid to ask some questions, because you never know how that's going to help you in the future.
Of course, and I think Alexa said the children because you're getting ready for your internship. You're probably still thinking about that.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, just in general, we're at the end of the interview, but I want to give you some time to just give maybe some final words of advice, final quote that you want to finish off the interview with for students that are watching and that just want to come back and look at your current journey? Just, Alexa, anything that you want to leave off in terms of advice, the floor is yours.
I would say always do your best to not have like a limiting mindset because I learned from you champions that if you think negatively of yourself, then you're not really going to go anywhere. If you tell yourself things that, oh, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, then you just won't do it. You're just limiting yourself. And when I understood that I have to be more, I have to have a more positive mindset, I think I was able to gain a lot more confidence to apply for things, to ask help and things like that. Because if I think I've had times where I told myself I can't do something. And because of that, I never tried. So because I never tried, how would I know if I was really good at something or maybe I would have been bad at it, but I didn't even try. So would never know. Having a limiting mindset is just not a good thing to have. And I would say work on it and try to do things to develop your confidence because with your confidence you can accomplish so many more things that you would have ever expected.
Great. And Alexa, that was a great conversation. Thank you for
Mhm.
being here with us. For everyone who's watching, please make sure to continue to follow along, follow us on our social medias, and continue to follow Alexa on her journey as well. This is not the last time you guys will be hearing about her from Youth Champions. Alexa, again, a lot of congratulations on your internship. I hope you have a good day today on your first day, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so
Goodbye, everyone.
much.